Hey, Ted, with all the new Tasha feats, is there any you're very excited for?
Oh, there is. There's actually something in there that I have wanted in the game for a very long time.
Oh, do tell.
Eldritch Adept, there's so many invocations that you can use to just enhance your character.
That gives me a great idea, Ted. Let's discuss the best invocations to take for Eldritch Adept. Welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds, by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and as usual, I'm joined by this nerd,
Nerdarchist Ted.
Hey, if you're looking for more D&D videos, then invoke them by hitting that subscribe button.
And if it's more Nerdarchy vids you're after, no need to make a pack. Just attune to that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
Hey, just before we start this video, I just want to let you know Nerdarchy kind of goofed when we ran that Kickstarter thing, and we over-ordered the aluminum aircraft carrier Nerdarchy Dice. They're Nerdarchy signature colors, and they have the Nerdarchy logos all over them, or at least when you roll well, they show up. And they look fantastic. They look amazing. I don't know how much longer we're going to have these. Like I said, we overbought them, so we only have so many. You go over to the store and check them out. With that, we're going to jump into our video and talk about Warlock Invocations.
All right, so breaking down all of the invocations that you could possibly take with Eldritch Adept, there's basically 11 of them that, would be viable. A lot of the others require a Warlock level. So, yeah, if you've already got Warlock and you just want more invocations, you could totally do that one. But for this one, we're looking for non-Warlock things, that are going to apply.
Yeah, we're kind of pairing it up with Eldritch Adept, which... you can choose one, and like Ted said, you can't take it unless you have a prereq of the Warlock level for a bunch of the invocations. So there's only really 11 you can access. 16 if you happen to have Eldritch Blast, because there's another 5 with the Eldritch Blast requirement, but that's the only requirement. There is other ways to get Eldritch Blast, so you can kind of dip in and play with those if you wanted to. Now, of those 11, 2 of them aren't really good choices. I don't even consider them viable, to be honest with you.
And that's because what you're going to get out of those invocations, you can get, access through another feat. And what you're going to get is actually going to be a superior version. So with that, Beguiling Influence and Eldritch Mind, these are pretty much on par with the worst ones to take, because if you were to take Skilled, you would actually get 3 feats instead. So that one is definitely, not to take.
Yeah, and Eldritch Mind, you could just take Warcaster, and that would give you advantage on those Constitution saving throws. Plus, you would have a couple other features that you would be able to use as well. So those 2 are inferior. So also, let's talk about a little bit before we get into our list. So do you take 2 feats or multi-class to sprinkle Warlock into your character? Because now we kind of have that option.
So this is all depends upon what you're looking for. If you're looking to actually go down the direction and get all of the Eldritch Blast kind of things, I definitely think it's better to do the multi-class so that you get access to it rather than taking 2 feats to get, Magic Initiate and then the Eldritch Adept to get this access to stuff. Whereas a couple levels of Warlock and you're already going to be going down that path.
Yeah, 2 levels of Warlock is going to give you everything those 2 feats would have given you plus a little bit more. So you're probably better off just multi-classing at that point. But if you just want a little bit of flavor and you just want one specific thing, then the feat might be a good way to go. Or also, if you happen to be a Warlock and you're like, I just want another invocation, you could take the feat and that would give it to you. All right, so let's do our rundown. We're going to go from worst to best. And I mean, you could have probably guessed this, but tying at the worst, our number 10 on the list is Beguiling Influence and Eldritch Mind, just because there are better ways of getting access to what they give you than taking this feat.
Next up is number 9 is going to be Gaze of Two Minds. If you want to turn a person into your familiar for a short time, yeah, it's doable. It's fun. There's certainly a lot of cases where this could be useful. There are other ways to get access to a familiar, and the familiar is always going to be willing to do this kind of thing. So unless you're looking to, convince an NPC to allow you to do this where they've got exclusive access to something where your familiar won't, like I said, the situations this is going to come up is super rare. I don't think this really warrants going in that direction for a feat.
And Gaze of Two Minds, what that does is basically let you use someone else's senses while you see and hear through their senses. You can't use your own. So essentially, it's like what you would do with a familiar. That's why Ted said make someone your familiar. Number 8, Armor of Shadows. It's great. It's mage armor at will. But there's a couple reasons why we have it as number 8.
If you are taking this as a feat, then you're not a warlock. So chances are you have probably got a better way to calculate your armor class. You might be wearing armor. You might have one of the numerous methods for, dex plus something else. So we felt, while this is a great invocation for somebody without armor, we had to put it low on the list because it just seems like not going to be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, so what comes to mind is if you're playing a rogue or a druid, this might be super useful, especially a druid that wild shapes, then it would be. So while it's kind of cool, thematic, and useful, it's also kind of niche in our opinion. So that's why it's ranked so high.
Number 7, this is actually one of my favorites only because I dive into, languages and knowledge skills. And this is Eyes of the Runekeeper, where you can read all writing. So I think this one is great if you're playing the style of game where the GM incorporates a lot of that kind of material. But if it's not in the game, it's going to basically be useless for you.
Yeah, this one and the next couple, these really are kind of flavored to taste. And we're just looking at it how many different pillars of the game will it cover? How often will it come up? And that's how we're coming up with it. But in your game, you might rank Eyes of the Runekeeper much higher. Or, you just might want that flavor in your character. So number 6 is Eldritch Site, and that is basically casting Detect Magic at will. It's a first level spell. You get to cast it over and over again. To me, this is going to help with the kind of the exploration pillar of the game. And, maybe it could lead to some role playing as well.
Next up, number 5 is Beast Speech. Now, this one, looking at the list all told, I would have definitely thought this one was lower. But as we look at, the elements that are attributed based on the pillars of D&D, it automatically is going to bring in role-playing into a situation that would not have been, and potentially bringing things into the exploration pillar as well through getting more information that you would not have had based on said interaction. So this one, for my games, automatically applies to 2 different pillars just through the sense of casting it and being able to cast it at will. This is a great one for nature-based characters, rangers, druids, nature priests, what have you. This is a fabulous one to, gather that information and insert role-playing into a scene that would not have been.
Yeah, and you might even use it to stop the combat pillar, right? By talking your way out of it. So that's why that's number 5. Number 4, Fiendish Vigor at will.
So this one, we thought was pretty fantastic. Being able to get a die 4 plus 4 temporary hit points whenever you want. So Fiendish Vigor is fabulous because you can be able to cast this spell at will, being able to get a die 4 plus 4 temporary hit points. Now it's going to be an action to cast, so you're probably not going to be doing this in battle unless for some reason you have nothing to take with that action. But being able to roll into combat with, these temporary hit points every single time, that's going to make that character stand out, even more. And, the fact that, if you run a game that has multiple combats over the course of a day, that's going to last, and create that bigger and bigger impact. So for combat-heavy games, this one is just up there.
Number 3, Misty Visions. Basically, you get to cast Silent Image at will. The reason why this one was at number 3, and then we had a little bit of back and forth on this one, but I was like, you know what? I feel like casting Silent Image at will is something you can insert into all 3 pillars of the game. And depending on how creative you are as a player and how your GM will allow you to use this, there's a lot of things that you can do with it. So it almost feels like an ability where you're almost only capped by your imagination.
And, a game built on imagination, is absolutely going to be, open to interpretation. Yeah, I thought this one was definitely, after that discussion, definitely have to be ranking in that top pillar. And as Dave says, being able to cast it at will is super fabulous. Number 2, Mask of Many Faces. This allows you to cast Disguise Self at will. And oh man, the number of things that this is going to be able to allow you to do is just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be a master of disguise. You're going to be able to hide in plain sight with ease. It's going to open up all kinds of role-playing avenues, maybe allow you to circumnavigate combats with, social interactions instead. It just seems like it would be super useful and fun. And there's many different types of character builds that would benefit from access to this one spell at will.
Yeah, if you want to, worship the many-faced god and become a no one, this is definitely the direction to go. But number 1, the last on our list, the best possible, invocation to take with Eldritch Adept is
Devil's Site. And the reason why it's the best is nothing else in the game does this, right? Or very, very few things do this. Because it just lets you see in darkness and magical darkness, which is not the same as dark vision at all, right? You just can always see, and the extra component of being able to see through darkness, there's going to be a lot of different applications. It's going to come up over and over again in the game. And we've also seen many builds based around the Devil's Site where you cast darkness on yourself or your enemies, it hinders them, but not you. It's super useful.
And then, it's going to couple with that, dark vision out to 120 feet, improve for a lot of people. And for those races that don't come with dark vision, this is an easy fix, a simple feat, and bam, now you not only see, but you see better than all of your other allies. So super addition to any character.
Yeah, super helpful. So that's our list of, what we find the worst to the best invocations. Let us know what you think, if we got it right, what we got it wrong. How do you rank them? We got a place where you can do that down below in the comments. Did you like this video? Do you like it when we talk about warlocks? Do you need a few more warlock videos in your life? How about D&D Killer Combo, Secret Weapon of the Warlock?
Do you like Nerdarchy and like making packs? Then you might want to head over to Patreon and join us over there.
You won't get Eldritch Blast, but we do have monthly fan games, giveaways our patrons are automatically entered in, and more.
So until next time, stay nerdy.